Hello everybody, it's Warhammer here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 quick match gameplay. This time around we are on the Doomglades playing as the forces of Norsca against the forces of Chaos. And in this match, what I really wanted to do was try a super wide Marauder heavy Norscan build and make it work. Go for something that's viable. Previously I'd actually recently done a match where I tried to do all Marauders, and it was very pure thematic. But I wanted to, after taking some lessons from that game, I decided there were a few things I could have done to actually tweak it and make it a viable sort of multiplayer strat, and actually something competitive. And so that's kind of what we were trying to do here. So for my Lord, I'm rolling with Wolfric. In my previous build, I'd run a Marauder Chieftain. I decided, the Marauder Chieftain is just garbage. Wolfric is just better. Let's be honest here. And Wolfric just gives you way more utility. So with Wolfric, we get Seafang, great little debuff, as well as decent in damage. Not that great against Chaos, to be honest, but hey, it can do some work. Fight or Die, of course, great for the leadership buff, as well as the extra melee attack to support your Marauders. And finally, Hunter of Champions, which is great for slowing enemy lords and heroes, make them a more vulnerable target for my missiles, but also, of course, just to make them a little easier to beat down in melee. And of course, Wolfric himself on a chariot is an absolute beast. Crazy melee stats, he gets Rage, unlike the Marauder Chieftain, so he actually gets much better the longer he's in combat. He's got a bronze shield because this guy is just an absolute beast. He's apparently able to just stick this shield out way out here, block all the shots, and do a great job of it. 120 armor, he's just an absolute beast of a lord. And really, against Chaos, this build doesn't have too much to deal with Chaos Infantry, if my opponent goes like Chosen Heavy or something, so you really need, in my opinion, a chariot or two to deal with those things. Alongside him, we do have a Shaman Sorcerer of Metal. Not much to be said for this bad boy, but he's cheap, cheerful, gives me Plague of Rust, which synergizes really well with my Javelins and my non-AP missiles. And he also has Final Transmutation to mess up single entities, or perhaps Cavalry if my opponent really blobs very heavily. Definitely some potent stuff for this guy, though. Now, frontline is a complete budget line. It's a bunch of Marauders. We do have the Icehorn Marauders in the center, providing their immunity to psychology as well as perfect vigor. And then we do have a few units of Marauder Spears guarding the periphery. So these guys, not the most amazing combat unit, obviously, but they'll hold their own for a while. They'll buy me time against Chaos Troops, Chaos Warriors, Chosen, units like that. Obviously, they'll just butcher my boys, but it will take them a while for sure. Besides that, we do have a whole huge firing line. Multiple units of Marauder Hunters with Javelins, 3 units in fact. Use single unit Marauder Hunters with throwing axes to give us a little bit of AP stopping power. The Beast of Tashnar here on the flank, these guys provide their anti-large as well as Frenzy and Monsters melee stats. Also have very respectable missile resist of 50%, which is just insane. Makes them a perfect anti-skirmish cav unit. 2 units of Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes providing AP. So range support, 2 more units, they're actually mixed and matched here, but a unit of Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes as well as normal Marauder Horsemen, providing non-AP as well as AP support. And finally in the back we do have the Maws of Savagery, who are a great unit, really pretty amazing. Frenzy, regen, AP damage, they'll just demolish large targets if they get their hands on them. Now, for my opponent, he decided to go with a very static defensive build, but he does have some dragons up in the sky. A Chaos Lord is flying overhead, providing support with his Pendant of Slanesh. He's got Foe Seeker, he's got Deadly Onslaught, Standard Die, just insane amounts of burst damage potential. No Plague Filth Mace, so he's not going to be able to apply poison, but the amount of damage this guy can drop is just insane. And I will really have to be careful not to lose Wolfric or my Shaman Sorcerer very quickly. Besides that, we do have Feral Manticore here to provide some harass. And here in the tree line, we do have a whole bunch of Chaos Warriors shielding a Hell Cannon. And the Hell Cannon is quite a nasty piece. It's actually not bad against Norsca now. In this situation, it has very little to target because my infantry is all crap. It's budget, cheap troops. But normally, oftentimes you'll see Norsca will bring it will bring Marauder Champions, or you'll see Berserkers, and against that, a Hell Cannon will do much better. There's the single unit of Chosen, providing a heavy-duty AP and anti-infantry anchor. We also do have a Dragon Ogre Shadow providing additional anti-large, and finally a Chaos Sorcerer of Metal who only has Final Transmutation. Besides that, he's got a Scroll of Protection as well as a Forbidden Rod. And I'm not the biggest fan of this, honestly. I feel like you should always bring a cheap utility spell, just in case your opponent doesn't give you a good target. Finally, we do have a single unit of Chaos Warhounds with Poison, camping out in the woods, ready to defend. Now, realizing that I don't want to spend the entire game getting demolished by a Hell Cannon, I'm immediately pushing forward, and that's really, this entire early game is just a push. I want to get in on my opponent. I need to keep his Chaos Warriors locked down in place so that my missiles can then dispatch the Hell Cannon. Because, of course, they don't have the best range, so getting them into range is going to be difficult, but if I can, it'll be nice. Now, the Chaos Lord here does drop down, trying to provide a little bit of disruption on the Icehorn Marauders, and takes a nasty volley there, actually losing about 800 damage in the space of seconds to the Marauder Hunters. But of course, the Hell Cannon is wrecking my Marauder Champs here, and now we are trying to push in and start dispatching this bad boy. In the backline, in the meantime, you can see my horsemen, as well as the Maws of Savagery, and all my skirmish elements are kind of sitting tight and playing defensive. Over here, the spears will interdict the Norscan or the Chaos Warhounds, deal with them. Unfortunately, the Manticore here, gunning for my Shaman Sorcerer, is very, very flimsy, very squishy, and immediately we're already suffering a rout here. That said, the Health Cannon is being focused very heavily by the Javelins and removed from play, and so though my opponent has managed to deal with my front line pretty easily, because he had those warriors, he had the support of the dragon, he had breath attacks, all that stuff, we have removed the Hell Cannon from play, so now I don't have to worry about all this pressure. My opponent still had, a good chunk of ammo left on that unit, so getting rid of that is very huge. In the meantime, over here, the Maws of Savagery are getting in on the Chaos Feral Manticore and just destroying it with very low armor, terrible melee defense, now Rampage kicking in. It's not going to last long for this world, and it is getting demolished. On the periphery, in the meantime, the Horsemen diving in on the Warhounds with poison, eradicating them, and now looking to get some cheeky shots into the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, which is now trying to flex over to deal with Wolfric, who's running for dear life here. You can see I'm really trying to kite back right now. Dropping a Sea Fang here actually to try to slow my opponent. Unfortunately whiffing. I'd been hoping to hit the Sorcerer while I was on Dragon, just kind of missed. But we are doing our very best to just slow my opponent's infantry advance here. Buy ourselves some time, because everything has failed. Everything has fallen apart. The Spears over here, though, buying time against the Chosen, doing surprisingly well in this protracted engagement, which is interesting. But you see, now the Chosen here have lost about, 700 or so HP to dirt cheap Spears, which is pretty insane. In the meantime, though, my opponent is managing to compromise my backline. We are able to remove some of these annoying Feral Manticores from play and units like that and throw our remaining spears into the fight. But unfortunately, this Shaggoth is in the fray, beating the crap out of my poor Shaman Sorcerer and just forcing him to run for dear life. That said, Maws of Savagery are online and ready to go, and they're going to jump in. This is not a fight the Shaggoth wants to take. Maws of Savagery are disgusting. The amount of damage they can dish is insane. They're one of those units that's been overlooked just because of how good Fimir are, but honestly, they're still so strong. Look at this AP value of 63, 30 bonus for large. Look at how fast the Dragon Ogre goes down, and now there's missiles coming in, and he's just having a terrible time of it, trying to juke around. Now all these missiles coming in from the Hunters, and it's just a crossfire, peppering this bad boy into oblivion. And now my opponent does get a pretty nasty breath here, decimating my Marauders once again, but in come the Icehorn boys. And things are starting to look very grim for Chaos, because at this point, yeah, they've got a lot of infantry left over. Over here, the Chosen are just kind of running amok, overrunning all of my infantry. They slaughtered one unit of Marauder Spears, now they're working on the other one. These Marauders completely routed off. Over here, a final transmutation goes down on Wolfric, almost deleting him from the game. The problem is we just have so much skirmish potential. This Dragon, yeah, he tries to dive in and compromise things here, but in comes a final transmutation, Overcast, melting the Chaos Lord here, destroying his face, making him very sad. And he's getting peppered this whole time, but all this missile pressure. And it's just brutal stuff. Over here, the Skin Wolves bought me some time, dealt with a little bit with these Chaos Warriors. The Beasts of Tashin are doing the same thing, just diving repeatedly, cycle charging, slowing down this infantry advance. And whenever my opponent's Lord or infantry side tries to dive in, they immediately start taking this withering fire, because there's just so much shooting to destroy. And it's potent shooting. It's not bad. Like the Marauder Hunters, yeah, they don't have AP, but you look at them, and the bonus for large of 15 is just insane. You've got a 60% boost to your damage against units like the Chaos Lord. Now we hit him with a Plague of Rust, just a normal version, because I don't think I had to win some magic for more. But look at this. He's being forced to rout. He's running from Horsemen. The Horsemen are coming in hot, just beating the snot out of him. They're going to be throwing their Javelins as they close the gap. And he's getting run off the field. The Chaos Lord is gone. At this stage of the game, it's basically game over, man. Game over. Chaos Lord is going to be removed from play. My opponent has nothing to save him. The Shaggoth is doing his very best to get in here, but once again, he can't compromise all of this. We got the Beasts of Tashin, who, yeah, they're not designed to kill units like this, but and then it's only 70 armor. These guys do have anti-large. This guy's already very tired, so he's even losing armor. And the Beasts of Tashin are taking him to Pound Town. Look at how fast he loses HP, and it's just brutal. When you're able to lock out your opponent's big boys, your opponent's big targets, just destroy them like that. They suffer very badly over here. Marauder Horsemen actually get a cheeky charge into the Chaos Warhounds. This stage is just a matter of time before my opponent's army collapses. The Chaos Sorcerer can't hold his own. My opponent's infantry is getting swarmed now. The Chosen, who've spent this game demolishing my infantry, up to 172 kills. I don't know if they gained all 3 of those chevrons in the course of this game, but they've just had a field day. They're finally getting over here, but it's too little too late. Everything else is routing. Chaos Warriors just buckle under the pressure from all flanks. Maws of Savagery coming in there to farm some kills. The Chaos Sorcerer is routed. The Dragon, in fact, went down all the way out here. You can see the Chaos Lord just thrown from his mount, and he's gone. And at this point, it's just a matter of picking up a few kills, and that's GG. Pyrrhic victory for Norsca. And honestly, it wasn't even that Pyrrhic. One thing that did almost come close-ish to swinging it was when Wolfric almost got sniped with the final transmutation, plus some charges from Shaggoth and stuff like that. But really, that was more misplay on my part. And had I played just a little more cautiously with Wolfric, that wouldn't have even been a threat. But I kind of wanted to demonstrate just how much you can... So this build is just a slight tweak on my original composition with a slightly better Marauder Horseman micro. preventing them from getting caught out early by, say, Knights, or in this case, say, the Warhounds, or the Dragon Ogre, or the Lord. By preventing that from happening, by having a few high mass units, like the Maws of Savagery, by having Wolfric, and unfortunately I missed in that game, but I was dropping the Hunter of Champions on my opponent to prevent him from catching Wolfric, which would make it harder for him to catch. Like, obviously, I'm not going to fight him much in melee, because Wolfric can't really solo Lords on a chariot very well. But like, if I can slow him, if I can prevent the Chaos Lord from chasing me, it's good enough. And I was doing that. And so with Hunter of Champions giving me some crowd control, with the Maws of Savagery giving me some zoning potential, like that Shaggoth comes booking in, he sees the Maws of Savagery, he's getting out of there. And against a faction like Chaos, which has to go relatively narrow, doesn't have too many width options, it's pretty potent stuff. Javelin's obviously not raking the biggest amount of kills, but they deleted that Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, they deleted the Chaos Lord, they were just doing massive amounts of work. And once you remove these elite units from play, and that really happened that game, you had the Maws of Savagery alongside the Beast of Tashanar, and then all this missile support, just removed the Manticore, the Hell Cannon, the Shaggoth, the Lord. They removed these basically 4 key units from play, and after that it's just infantry to pick apart. And you take them down through attrition, you take them down through cycle charging. We still had a good amount of ammo left over. We still had a Plague of Rust, of course, and all that stuff, and it's just game over at that point. So either way, I think it's a cool build. I think a fun build to use. I just, it's very rewarding in a way, because normally Norscan builds rely on just monster spam, and it's kind of dull as dirt. You spam Fimir or Mammoths, and I just don't find that appealing. And perhaps it's something that you guys enjoy. Perhaps something that more players find amusing, but I just don't have fun with that, and I find it's really fun to go super wide like this. For my opponent's build, it's not that you can't really make this work. You can definitely go with a defensive build, but first and key thing you got to keep in mind, you need to zone. My opponent did not zone well that game at all. The Hell Cannon could have gotten way more value. Even if he'd just been a little quicker on withdrawing after I got close enough, that would have been an improvement. Otherwise, you need to push out with your infantry and buy time. Let that Hell Cannon do work. Because if the Hell Cannon had been allowed to do a little more work that game, it could have definitely dealt much more severe blows to my Marauder Horsemen. I would have been forced to commit my Marauder Hunters into that backline more. Perhaps lost some of my Horsemen in an attempt to get in on the Hell Cannon. But this build suffers a little bit from what I'd say is like indecisiveness. On one hand, it's pretty aggressive with units like the Manticore and the Dragon Ogre. At the same time, you don't really have units to run down, say, Horsemen and whatnot. And at the same time, it's defensive with the Hell Cannon, but you don't have enough width to defend the Hell Cannon. So, in my opinion, that's a bit of a flawed design of build there. In my opinion, one thing you always want in this match as Chaos is Marauder Horsemen or Horsemasters. You need something to counter Norsca's skirmish potential, and you don't have many options. That's basically, and I don't think a Hell Cannon is really worthwhile. I think you're just better off going aggro, bring some Shaggoths to counter Mammoths, and then bringing a Horseman, and that is the key. And then for the rest of it, you can bring whatever. You can bring Chosen. I'd like Chosen with shields in this matchup. I like as a Lord. I actually don't mind Archeon. I think he's pretty solid in this match because he gives you a caster and Lord all in one, and he can be a little cheaper. So Thurl's also decent for sure because he can give you Final Transmutation, Terror. He's unbreakable, all that stuff. Kolek can be decent as well. You definitely want a Shaggoth for the Mammoths though. Personally though, just not a fan of the Hell Cannon. You can make it work, but I just don't think it's worth it here. And you definitely want something to deal with Horsemen, and my opponent really didn't have that here. Manticore is also, just in my opinion, a bad choice. Manticore is a trash unit. Not looking to be harsh or anything, but it's just not very good. Regardless, well played to my opponent, Jarl Jacob here. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it entertaining and fun. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share. If you have any comments, criticisms, questions, requests, don't hesitate to put them down below. I'll do my very best to respond as soon as I can. I do thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.